both of you. How do your beliefs impact positively on other societies?
Um, well, that's a quite interesting question, to be honest. Basically, my beliefs, how does it affect society? Well, I think it's how you carry yourself, something like that, based on, your beliefs and values and all of that. And, it could, affect somebody in terms of their lives and all that. And they want, it might, basically, I could be considered as a, as a textbook of how someone could act or how could someone conduct themselves. So yeah, yeah, but it's a quite tricky question to answer, but hopefully, that's the best I could do.
Is that your creaky door, Eunice?
Yeah, yeah, I'll be back in 10 minutes. Sorry.
Okay, mate, no problem. Raindrop, did you want to answer that question?
Yeah, that's actually a good good question because I've been kind of pondering that for 6 7 months because I'm like a student of history. I love history. I love learning about what happened in the past, and I see that if there's a famous quote that if you don't learn from your past, you're going to be bound to repeat those mistakes. And the question is a really good one: is how do my beliefs affect society around me in a positive manner? And I think so. As a Sikh, um, Sikhism shares is part of the Dharma religion fold. So I can even go beyond and just talk the Dharma religions in general because we share common principles of reincarnation, of karma, of dietary habits. There's a lot of things that are overlapping. The concept of the soul, the concept of liberation from the matrix, the concept of illusion, the illusory nature of life. I think someone they asked me, I forgot which panel, but like, how is it that why is Sikhism a superior way of life? Why is the Dharma religions better? Because I was telling them you could follow whatever religion you have as long as you cultivate a love of God. So they're like, oh, then why do I need to, why have your gurus even come in the first place? So in the sense that if I apply that to the Dharma religions as a whole, the best proof or the proof of the pudding is if you look at the society in India. So I give this example where India has 1.4 billion people, and that is equivalent if you took 400 million people in Europe, the EU, if you take 900 million people of Africa and you combine them together to put them on one piece of land, which is a third the size of America, from New York to Florida. That's how many people are living on one piece of land. On top of that, you have 200 million Muslims also in there. That's more than half the Middle Eastern population combined. So that's equal to Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria. Imagine taking all those countries and throwing them into the pot as well. So there's 200 million Muslims. It has 20 official languages. And these languages, it's not simple in the sense that in Europe, if you go from French, German, English, Spanish, they all you can understand those letters. You can read it at least, and But in India, the languages are so diverse that if you go from one state to another, even the script is different. So there's like 6 different scripts, that you can't even understand, but they have them on $1 bill. And what surprises me, or what astonishes me, is that if you with this such diversity, which 1.4 billion people living on a piece of land, that they are able to cooperate with each other. They're able to move forward, participate in democracy, which was given by the British, the parliamentary system. And even though there's a million and one problems, that it's not a utopia. There's poverty, there's corruption, there's a whole host of issues. The reason it doesn't collapse, the reason the society doesn't collapse, is that the common man has the Dharma principles. So even the most poor, the most illiterate person on the street has a concept that, if I'm a Hindu, if I'm a Sikh, and this other person is a Muslim, that Muslim has the same soul, the same spiritual spark or divine in him that is in me. And that if I, let's say, do something to harm him, I may in my next life have to be reborn as that individual or as that, in that religion, and have a similar type of suffering. So it doesn't require you to even have such detailed theological, I mean, I don't know, everything, or I don't know as much as I would like to about Sikhism or the other religions, but just keeping basic principles, the space it makes for a non-believer, that, you can be an atheist or agnostic and still get a seat on the table of the Dharma religions. So like Buddhism itself is an agnostic religion. There's like 4 or 5 different schools of atheism in the 4th branch of Hinduism. So the inclusive nature of it, it just kind of astonishes me, and I see that as a very beneficial thing, for the world, for India, and the same principles applied, were transported to China, Japan, Vietnam, Indonesia, hell, even the Philippines. And if you just study history, you study Japanese history, and see how when that country was practicing the Dharma principles for like 700-800 years, it stayed relatively peaceful. But as soon as Admiral Perry in 1860, forced Japan to open up, and with the Meiji Reformation, where they adopted the Meiji Reformation and they gave up those Dharma principles, guess what? Within 100 years, or not even 100 years, from like, I think within 60 years, Japan had to suffer a devastating 2 nuclear strikes. And then the Japanese army committed such, mass genocide and rape in China. So what I see is that there are principles of these belief systems or mindsets that can actually have a very realistic, a very real world impact. They're not just woo woo. They're not just hippy dippy. These things are very, very scientific in a sense, very, very powerful in a sense.
Cool.
Sorry, I went on a long rant.